Today we will make citrus vinegar for cleaning together, and we will also get some legumes sprouting for our chickens, and we will also do a few more morning tasks. So join me as we tackle these little chores here on our urban homestead today. Good morning, friends. Today we're going to make some citrus vinegar that I use for cleaning that we talked about in a previous video. And just kind of go over some of the things we've done this morning, getting prepped for the day. I had meant to video as we went along with those things, but you know, some mornings are like that and it just doesn't happen. This is real life. Okay, so to make citrus vinegar, we only need a couple of things. We need a glass jar. I just use a quart mason jar. I have a lid for my mason jar. These are the ball leak-proof plastic lids. I like these because they don't rust like the metal caps, the metal, what are they? Bands and lids and bands. That's what they are. They will get rusty and I don't like that, especially with the vinegar. But I have just used recycled glass jars with lids like the pasta sauce jars, that kind of thing. Use whatever you have in hand. It's okay. I have a few oranges here that are starting to turn. We try to use them before that happens, and clearly we slacked off this time. But I'm just going to peel them and put them into here, into this jar. These are a little bit hard to peel because they're so, I don't know, is it pithy? What do you call them when the oranges start getting old and it's kind of hard to get the peel off? And I don't know, I think they taste woody at that point is a term that we've used. They sure smell good still though. I do this with orange, I do it with lemon. I suppose you could also do it with grapefruit, or lime, any citrus, whatever citrus you're normally using in your house. And I've been known to mix them together. I just keep the citrus pills going. It doesn't really matter. You could do separate if you want lemon and you want orange and you want lime, just to have like a different fragrance in your house. Or you can mix them together and just make it a general citrus. Typically, I save these pills in a jar, you know, as we eat them. I would not typically let the oranges go bad and then be like, oh no, we need to use them. But somehow these ones were hiding at the bottom of our fruit bowl and got ignored. Okay, so a couple of things. If you feel like you don't have enough and you want to save them for a while, you can just put them in a container in the freezer and pull them out when you're ready to do this. I do the same with my apple scraps to make apple cider vinegar, or apple scrap vinegar rather. Another thing that I do is I kind of keep perpetual. So I'll do this. I cover it with the vinegar, which I just had to go get a new bottle from the cellar. Just plain 5% white distilled vinegar. And I just completely cover these. I'll just fill the jar up. Another thing that you can do is as it sits and infuses, you can add more scraps to it as you go. There is no rule about that. You're just infusing the citrus into the vinegar. It will start turning kind of yellow and orange. Let me grab the one I have going right now. This is one that I did strain off. Can you see that nice color compared to a clear vinegar, white vinegar? So several ways you can do it. You can just keep adding to the same jar. You can keep like a perpetual vinegar jar. You can move it up into a larger one and do that. Or you can do like I do, make it, strain it off when it gets nice and yellow and smells good. Now this is one of those rusted caps I talked about because this is just a recycled jar. You can probably see there's some rust in there. But it's vinegar, but it definitely smells like citrus. It gives a nice little light smell to it. And I use this in a lot of our cleaning because we only, as you remember from our other video, we only do our own cleaning products. We don't purchase any conventional cleaners in this house. So here you go. Super simple. This was for like mandarin type of oranges that I put the pills into here. You can do a couple, you can do a lot. It doesn't really matter. The more you have, the more concentrated it's going to get. If you get it super concentrated, you can pour it off and then dilute it with more white distilled vinegar when you're ready to fill your cleaning bottles or however you're going to use the vinegar. Okay, so that was citrus vinegar, super simple. I don't think I need the vinegar for anything else this morning, so I'm going to go ahead and move this out of the way. So these have to go out to the chickens or the compost. Some people say not to give your chickens citrus, but I say my chickens are pretty darn smart and they're only going to eat what they should eat. We've never had any issue with giving them a little bit of citrus, so I'm not going to worry about it. We're just going to throw it into their bowl for next time, which I'm not quite sure where that went, so we may have to start a new one. Okay. I'm going to place this vinegar underneath my kitchen sink alongside the one I'm using so it can infuse. Thank you for bringing that in, Julia. Okay, we're going to do a couple other things this morning. I boiled some eggs in the Instant Pot so that the kids will have those for snacks or to make mousy eggs, which is one of the favorites. They take the little hard-boiled eggs and cut them in half and make them look like little mice, and they love that. So I have those sitting in cold water because, like I said, I didn't video and take you guys along. So here they are sitting in cold water from the Instant Pot. I did these just for a 4-minute high pressure in the Instant Pot, and then I ran cold water over them, and I'm just cooling them down quickly. I'm going to get those moved into a bowl in the refrigerator. It would help if I can find a dish for them because they're running in the dishwasher right now. Okay. So I think I made 7 this morning because really it's just the 2 little girls home with me all day now. So I'm still adjusting to making much less food. Oh, and I cracked this one. I heard it when I was rolling them around when I took the steamer basket out. So we'll have to make sure we eat that one today. Anyway, we have much less children at home full time now. And so I'm still getting used to what that looks like in food preparation. So I made 7 in hopes that the girls will eat them in the next couple of days before they go bad. This is just going to go in the refrigerator so we'll know glass container means hard-boiled eggs. Hey, sweetie. Okay, and one more thing that we did this morning is I made some resistant rice. Well, it's not resistant rice yet. It's going to be. So I made some rice in the Instant Pot, and now I'm cooling it, and it's going to go into the refrigerator. 24 hours, it'll be resistant rice, which means it's a lower carb content, and it's better for those of us with blood sugar issues. So that's going to go into the fridge, one of our other preps for the week. And then the next thing we're going to do is get some lentils starting to soak to sprout for our chickens. So hang on and we'll do that one right after I put this in the refrigerator. Okay, let's get some sprouts going for our chickens. Now I'm going to try to turn you here so you can see what we're going to do. All right. So I have some lentils. You just need to make sure they're not irradiated because those will not sprout. Okay. I have a couple of jars because I'm going to go ahead and start 2 today. And then I have a couple different screen systems here. This is the one I actually prefer because we have a screen cap with a separate band. And this is Trellis and Company, Trellis and Co. 316 stainless. This set came with, okay? And then This one, I thought I was ordering the same things and I was not. So this is Echo Peaceful 316 stainless steel. And this one, the screen is built in, which I don't know. I mean, it's fine too. I don't know why I think I prefer the 2-piece because that's just something else to get lost. I'll have to ponder that. But anyway, I think it was just that it was different. So I kind of thought, do I like this or not? Anyway, so I have these 2 different styles of caps to use. And then I did recently purchase these little gadgets to prop my sprouting jars on because I was keeping them kind of tipped upside down on this platter that I use back here. It's just one of our platters we have for like events when we want things labeled clearly, but it makes a great tray to do my sprouts on. But they would kind of slip and slide, and I was always leaning them and awkward. So these were really inexpensive. I think maybe I paid, I don't know, $7 or $8 to get 4 of them. And then my jars can actually lean in them properly and they're not flopping all over the place. So that's awesome. But for today, we're just going to get started and then we're going to get them soaking, which normally I would start the soak at night so I could strain them in the morning and get them actually set up. But last night was kind of crazy. And again, I did not get that prep work done. So I'm going to start the soaking now. And then tomorrow we can check on them and I'll show you the next step. Or rather tonight. And then we'll check on them daily. Okay. So as you can see, I don't measure. This does have a little piece of chaff in it. That might actually be a little bit of parsley or something. I don't know what that is. It's dry. But I just put a small amount. Now if I was to measure, that's probably 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup. It's almost up to the very bottom line here. It's amazing how many sprouts you'll get with that small amount. Now I'm going to cover it with filtered water. I usually fill my jars about half full. You want it well above the amount of lentils that are in there. Okay, there's the first one. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and cap them just so that I don't lose the caps before tomorrow because, you know, sometimes strange things like that happen. So they're capped. You can kind of see, it will be amazing to see how much fuller this is. I'm going to come down and see if you guys can see this on level so that tomorrow you can actually see the amount of enlargement. Is that the term we want? I think it is. How much enlargement we get from these. So we are literally, you know, not even. We're just barely at the bottom. I think that's 100 mil mark. It doesn't say, it just says mil. But we're barely there on both of these now. So tomorrow we'll see how big and fluffy those have gotten. Or rather tonight, 12 hours. Here I am saying as if I had done this last night like I should have. So about 12 hours from now, we'll soak them and then we will strain them and start the next step in the process. Okay, so for now, I'm going to set them right back here on our tray. I'm going to leave a couple of our stands here so they are out and ready. This will help me remember that I need to do the straining later. All right, that was super simple. Super, super simple. Another thing that I need to do today is wash and sort some more eggs because our ladies have really started laying again. So I have this whole basket I need to deal with, and as you can see, my countertop spinner is full. What I do is if they're really dirty eggs, like this one's pretty dirty, I will wash them and then move them to the refrigerator because once they've been washed, the bloom is gone. That's their protection, and they need to be refrigerated. And then we'll work from using those ones first, and then we'll come back to use the rest if need be. If they've been washed and the bloom is removed, they're no longer shelf stable, and they also cannot be stored with things like the water glassing, which is what we did with the pickling lime to preserve them for long-term use. So I'm just going to start by bringing these eggs over here to our sink and sorting them. Dirty eggs are going to sit down here. Look, it's just a little feather. Isn't that cute? The girls love to collect these. Now, if they're just a little bit dirty, I don't wash them because I like them to stay on the counter and keep their bloom intact. So I only wash them if they're actually like muddy. And we did have quite a bit of snow and melt that's happened. So that means that they are tracking in a little more yuck on their feet when they go in and out of the nesting boxes. I love all the colors of eggs that our ladies give us. I'm trying to decide. So this egg has something on the outside of it. I suspect this is actually from some food scraps that we were feeding when my daughter collected the eggs. It probably was on her hands or the dish. But we're going to go ahead and move that one in to be washed just in case. Yuck. These white eggs are from our Pomeranian. She's not a dog. Our Polish chicken, who is the one we call Pom Pom. And I showed her in our video yesterday. And she went through a period of not laying at all. And now she's back up full force. So here's another little white feather. This is so soft. So our little babies that we hatched out in June, I believe, is when they hatched, are half silky because our little roux is a silky roux. So they have these really soft, fuzzy feathers too. I can't even explain to you. I mean, you can probably just guess by looking at that how soft that is. So soft. This egg is funny. We call these our coffee spots when we get these. Isn't it funny? So the chicken's diet and their breed both impact their color of their eggs, and the bloom on their eggs can change the color. So one thing we've noticed lately is we're getting a lot more of the olive green, where we had only had one hen lay in olive green, and then we had several lay in lighter green. So I'm not quite sure what is going on to influence. I don't know if you can tell the difference in these. So this is a lighter green. This is more of an olive green. Okay, so the basket's going back in the porch so it can go out next time. I'm going to grab a towel to put these on here. Oops. We'll part with the feathers too. All right, so these ones that are already clean, I just have kind of sitting off to the side here. I'll deal with those afterward. Just getting the towel out. So typically I can just do a quick hand wash, but I do sometimes just take a rag and then I just put it in the wash afterward, especially when they've had a little extra dirty time out there with all the snow and the wet and the moisture. It doesn't matter, since we have to keep our hens in a run here because we are not out in the country, although we kind of are. But our zoning is technically considered residential. It's not considered agriculture. Now, if we were about 6 houses down, we start getting into the Amish farms that is agriculture zoned. So we're kind of in that borderline area. But anyway, our hens cannot run free. If our neighbors started complaining, that would lead to all kinds of drama. So they have to stay on their run. They have a pretty large run that we had built as kind of a temporary run when we bought this house a little over a year ago, because we just had to get them in here. It was December. We had to get them moved from our rental that we were in as we were house hunting, because if you don't know, we moved cross country from the West Coast to the East Coast for medical care for our youngest daughter. And so we spent time in 2 different short-term rentals, about 9 months in each of those. The first one was owned by a horse and buggy Mennonite couple that were planning to build their barn and move in themselves. So we had to move a little sooner than anticipated. We had thought we'd be able to stay there until we found our house, but they were ready to start building the barn, and they started tearing apart the property. It had 3 acres and to start building, and it just made it so it was really impossible for us to keep living there while they were doing that. So we moved into another rental that was owned by a young Amish man, and we were there about 9 months while we house hunted until we purchased this place. Now, that house we would have loved to have bought. It was a single level but on a full walkout basement, so it would have met our needs long term for our daughter who has mobility issues and medical complexities. And it was on a couple of acres of quite usable, nice land. We really enjoyed it there. However, that property the young man purchased it with the help of his parents to be very close to his parents' property. That's often what they do, because since they travel by horse and buggy, they want their kids to stay close. And the kids stay home until they're married. So if they get their hands on property, they stay living at home, and they'll rent out the property or use it for a business or whatever, depending on the situation. This young man appeared possibly permanently single, but of course his parents were hoping that he would find a bride. So he was renting the house out in the meantime. But there was no intention of being able to sell it. So we knew it was just a stopover place for us. But anyway, we purchased our house. It was December. We had to get something up and built for our hens so we could get them moved here. And so Rob spent time making them a really nice hen house or coop house. And then the run part just kind of became a temporary, let's get fencing up with a net over it so that they'll be safe, because they have to be contained here. And we wanted it pretty large. But it was grass, when we built it. But very quickly, they just devoured every little bit of grass and just turned it into, dirt. Which is fine for the most part. But when we have heavy rains or snow, then it just gets muddy. And I frequently put down sawdust pellets, they're pine pellets, bedding pellets like we use for horse stalls. And that will help absorb the moisture and give them a cleaner surface to walk around on so they don't get like bumblefoot and stuff. And every now and then we'll also throw straw down, but that's not my preferred method because I don't want to risk them getting impacted crops if they're silly enough to eat it, which they should not be doing. Okay, those are washed up. That was pretty quick. I'm going to put this in the washing machine. All right, so I'm going to give these a dry. We let them sit out till they are 100% dry. And then we will move them into a carton in the fridge. We've been really lucky just to get recycled cartons from our friends. So I haven't had to buy cartons, so that's awesome. But that could change at some point. We'll see. I've been shocked at how expensive just plain egg cartons can be. All right, so they're going to sit here and dry. Aren't they lovely? Look at those colors. And over here are the ones I decided not to wash today because they're still clean. I'm going to give my hands another really good wash here because I was dealing with the eggs. Speaking of, while I do that, I should show you. This is my foaming hand wash. So I also don't purchase conventional soaps. I use my Castile soap and dilute it in my reverse osmosis water, which we have this reverse osmosis tap over here that I installed myself, except for when I needed a single set of hands to get underneath the sink. I had to have a little bit of help from my husband. And so I do a combination of the reverse osmosis water and the Castile soap. And then if you really want to, if you're a person who enjoys a fragrance, you could add a drop or two of lemon essential oil to it. I don't typically, because we are pretty sensitive to smells. And we also know that clean doesn't actually smell like a fragrance. That is a fragrance. Clean would be mostly the absence of a smell. I'm going to do a quick wipe up. I always try to wipe up my splashes and stuff after I do that because that just helps keep the house tidy. And I always worry about, the little bit of overtime water damage that can happen from things splashing. Okay, so I feel like I left you hanging with the chickens, but I'm not quite sure what I was planning to say about their run being temporary. I think I was just killing time talking while I was washing the eggs. Yes, their run is temporary. We're hoping to build a better, more efficient, larger run, and I'm continually working on ways to keep the ground not soppy wet. We let them out for a little bit every day, like I had done in my video yesterday briefly, so that they can have a little bit of grass time, but I have to babysit them or supervise them while we do that. But it gives them time to access fresh grass and find any bugs, although in February there isn't a whole lot of bugs out there, but I'm sure they found a thing or two. So that is how we keep our chickens here on our, what we call the urban homestead, because we are technically in a residential zone on a lot versus on a farm, which is what our hope was, but we were not able to find one because the market here is very competitive for land because of all the plain people who need that land for their children so that they can be close to their families. And we don't resent them at all for that. We totally understand. I also would want my children close, especially if their transportation was only horse and buggy. And even going 10 or 15 miles makes it a day trip. So keeping them close is really important. It's part of their culture. So we don't at all resent that. We just were not aware that that's the market we were coming into here when we were looking for property. However, we found this amazing old 1800s house, and it used to be a huge farm over here. We just have what's left of it, and that's okay. And we have access to about 2/3 of an acre right now, although we don't technically own part of it. It was split off and sold separate from the house, but it's unused, and it is owned by a Mennonite family who has allowed us to continue to use it and mow it and things. And it sounds like we might have an opportunity to purchase it in the next year or two and actually formalize keeping it with our house. Time will tell, right? Who knows what is in store for us. Okay, well, I've kept you long enough this morning, friends. Thank you so much for joining me, coming along on a few of these little homesteading tasks that we do on our... Isn't that funny when you just totally lose your train of thought? Now, I would say that I'm only doing that because I'm making a video right now, but that's not true. It happens really frequently in our lives. And I'm always happy when I hear other moms that I'm watching, other YouTubers, and I hear them lose their train of thought or stumble over their words, and they just roll with it. Because, let's be real. This is what we all do. So friends, thanks for coming along on my journey this morning. Blessings upon your day, and stay prepared.